For 40 years, Winston lived in the biting cold of Georgia. He left the lush green hills of Portland, Jamaica as a young man with nothing but a suitcase and a promise to his mother that he would one day return as a big man. In the States, Winston worked double shifts, janitorial work by day, security guard by night. He sacrificed everything. He didn't buy fancy cars or designer clothes. He ate canned beans, wore thrifted coats, and every single month he walked to the wire transfer office. He sent his hard-earned US dollars to his nephew Marcus back in Jamaica. Marcus was the son of his late sister, and Winston trusted him implicitly. Through letters and later grainy video calls, Marcus showed him photos of a grand structure rising on a prime piece of land in the hills above Port Antonio. "It's coming along, Uncle Win," Marcus would say, his voice smooth and reassuring. "The roof is going up. The marble tiles are arriving from Italy. This house will be the envy of the parish." After 4 decades, Winston finally hung up his work boots. He boarded a flight to Montego Bay, his heart bursting with excitement. He imagined the cool Caribbean breeze hitting his face as he walked through the front door of his dream home. When he arrived in Port Antonio, however, there was no grand house. There was only a patch of overgrown bush, an empty plot of land, and a rusty fence. Marcus was nowhere to be found. Winston went to the local town council and the land registry, only to find the nightmare deepen. The land had been sold 3 years prior to cover Marcus's gambling debts. Every dollar Winston had sent for bricks, cement, labor, and marble had been funneled into a lavish lifestyle for Marcus in Kingston. Winston was 70 years old, penniless, and homeless in the land of his birth. The villagers watched as the American returnee began sleeping in a small, abandoned shack near the beach. They mocked him, calling him a fool who got played by his own blood. But the twist was hidden in the details. Marcus, arrogant and believing his uncle was broken, eventually showed up at the shack to mock him, wanting to know if Winston had any hidden stash left to give him. He walked in, sneering. "Look at you, uncle. You should have stayed in the cold. You have nothing here." Winston didn't cry. He didn't shout. He calmly pulled a weathered notebook from his pocket. "I sent money for 40 years, Marcus," Winston said, his voice steady. "But I was an accountant's son. I kept a record of every transaction, every receipt, and every construction update you ever sent me." Winston revealed that he hadn't just been sending money. He had been recording their phone calls. And, more importantly, he had been using a portion of his actual salary to set up a second account, a secret one, under the name of a local non-profit land trust he had quietly founded years ago. He hadn't been sending all his money to Marcus. He had been sending enough to keep Marcus complacent, while the true fortune was sitting in an interest-bearing account in Kingston, held by a law firm that specializes in property recovery. Winston had secretly bought the entire hillside surrounding the empty plot, including the house Marcus was currently living in, a house that actually belonged to the estate of Marcus's late father, which had technically defaulted to Winston years ago due to unpaid taxes that Winston had secretly settled. Winston held all the cards. He walked into the Kingston courts with his evidence. Marcus didn't just lose the house he was living in. He faced criminal charges for fraud and forgery. Winston didn't stay in the shack. He used the interest from his secret savings to build not just a house, but a community center on the land he had purchased. He became a mentor to the young men in the village, teaching them the value of labor and the danger of greed. He didn't seek revenge. He sought stability. He forgave Marcus, not by letting him off the hook, but by letting go of the anger that had been eating his soul for those 40 years. He realized that the house he dreamed of wasn't made of marble or imported tile. It was the community he built around him in his final years. The moral: greed is a fire that eventually consumes the one who lights it. Never fear the loss of material wealth, for the true foundation of a man's life is his character. And while others may steal your gold, they can never steal the wisdom you earned while working to get it.